Tonight, a former teacher at a residential school is sentenced for the abuse of children in her care. But survivors say they're angry as Patricia Robertson avoided a jail term.
That was not justice. That was a kick in the teeth for all survivors.
I get that they had to take into account her age, but she never took into account our age. We were babies at 5 when she was abusing us.
Also making the headlines, the Scottish Government announces a national review of the operation of grooming gangs in Scotland.
It's a big night of action in the Scottish Premiership. We'll have the sport from Tynecastle Park as league leaders Hearts take on Kilmarnock.
We're live in Washington with all the very latest as Scotland gets set for Friday's huge World Cup draw.
And they're rolling out the red carpet here at Clydeside Christmas Village as I get ready to catch up with 5 Scottish singing sensations. I'll give you a clue. Love you!
I'm John Mackay. This is the STV News at 6. Good evening. It's like we've been abused all over again. The reaction of a Fernethy House survivor to the sentence handed down to the teacher who abused her. Patricia Baxter, formerly Robertson, was described as a cruel and sadistic woman who had shown no remorse for force-feeding children as young as 5 their own vomit, as well as physically assaulting others. A judge at the High Court in Glasgow today said the main factor in not sending her to jail was her age. Ollie Dickinson has more.
Patricia Baxter arriving at the High Court in Glasgow this morning to be sentenced for her crimes whilst a teacher at Fernethy House in Angus. Baxter has always denied that she abused vulnerable youngsters in her care, claiming the women were making it up to get compensation. But last month, a jury found her guilty of 18 counts of abuse.
For the entirety of your time at Fernethy, it's clear that you behaved in a cruel and sadistic manner towards many young girls. The examples spoken to in evidence are too numerous to mention. Put shortly, you were in a position of trust and responsibility and used that position to abuse vulnerable children in your care over a period of many years.
Baxter won't spend any time in jail for her crimes, something that has angered survivors.
3 years probation? An absolute joke. Absolute joke.
That was not justice. That was a kick in the teeth for all survivors. And that just, no, it's terrible. Terrible, she should be in prison.
I just feel empty inside. I mean, I get that they had to take into account her age, but she never took into account our age. We were babies at 5 when she was abusing us.
During her trial, survivors spoke to STV News about how seeing her again brought back the horrors of Fernethy.
The woman shows no empathy, nothing. She's very stern, she still looked the same. We saw her a couple of times during the trial. Look as if she was starting to get angry. That was frightening, because that put you straight back. That was the face that we got.
The police investigation into Fernethy started in 2017 with the first report of abuse at the Angus mansion, where girls from inner city Glasgow were sent between 1960 and the early 90s. By 2024, more than 140 reports to police named numerous members of staff as abusers. Detectives say all those suspects, apart from Robertson, have since died.
We obviously interviewed her. She didn't show any remorse. I mean, I suppose having spoken to investigators who spoke to her and interviewed her, she never admitted any of her crimes. It's not for us to, I suppose, decide what sort of a person she is or not, but yeah, she chose not to answer our questions. She chose to deny what she did, and ultimately she's been tried by her peers and been found guilty.
Patricia Baxter will be on probation for 3 years, must pay £1,000 to each of her 18 victims and be at home between 3 p.m. and midnight under curfew. As she left court, she again stayed silent.
Any remorse for your actions?
Any words at all?
Why did you force feed vomit to young children? Why did you think that was an acceptable thing to do to girls as young as 5? To force feed them and then feed them their own vomit, Patricia? Why did you think that was okay to do? Why did you say in court that they were doing it for financial gain?
A number of civil claims are now being pursued by survivors. Police say they have no doubt that there are women who suffered abuse at Fenethi as children who are yet to come forward, and many more who never will. Ollie Dickinson, STV News at the High Court in Glasgow.
The Scottish Government is launching a national review of evidence in the operation of grooming gangs in Scotland. It'll be led by the independent expert Professor Alexis Jay, who led the inquiries in the north of England. The announcement came during a Labour debate in the Scottish Parliament. Our political editor Colin Mackay was watching. And Colin, this is quite a significant development.
Yeah, this has come up over the last couple of weeks at First Minister's questions, so there was pressure mounting for an independent public inquiry. The Scottish Government had been preparing to announce its plans before Christmas, but I think Labour's debate today in Parliament kind of forced their hands a bit. So Professor Alexis Jay, who's widely regarded as the leading expert in this field, will chair the National Child Sexual Abuse and Exploitation Strategic Group. She'll oversee the inspectorates covering police, education, the care sector and health improvement Scotland.
What a complete mess the government have got themselves into. Today they've had to cave in, and now they've done what they should have done in the first place, and that's an independent review. Despite this, Scottish Labour does welcome this last-minute announcement that Professor Jay will lead a review of the handling of complaints against grooming gangs.
Professor Jay told me that at the current time we do not have an accurate picture of the nature and the extent of child sexual abuse in Scotland, as indeed is the case elsewhere across the United Kingdom. She went on to state that establishing this would allow us to make an informed choice about the necessity of an inquiry.
To all of Scotland's child abuse survivors who are still not being heard, John Swinney can and he should instruct a robust and independent grooming gangs inquiry without any further delay. End Scotland's conspiracy of silence.
So Colin, where does this leave things?
Oh, you remember we heard from Taylor last week. She says she's a victim of grooming gangs in Glasgow, was sexually abused as a teenager in care, and she's due to meet the First Minister soon. Her mother is welcoming this, she says, as a start to uncovering horrendous abuse in Scotland. Now, there's a full inquiry in England, but it's already in all sorts of trouble, with victims pulling out because they've lost confidence. It doesn't even have a chair at the moment. So what's been announced today is not a full public inquiry yet into grooming gangs in Scotland, but the First Minister hasn't ruled that out. This review will help him determine whether it's necessary.
Colin, at the Scottish Parliament, thank you. A rise in Islamophobia and misogyny has left Muslim women afraid of violence on their own streets. That's the message from campaigners in Glasgow today. The event was part of the UN's 16 days of activism to end violence against women and girls and was organised by the Scottish Government and the Muslim women's rights group Amina. Tara Fitzpatrick was at the event today and joins us now. Tara, what was being said?
Well, this was an event that was aimed at bringing charities and campaigners together to discuss misogyny and sexism that Muslim women face. But what was really interesting was the message from people there, which was that violence against women and girls is an issue which, in their words, has been hijacked as a campaigning strategy by the far right. They spoke about protests which we've seen over the last few months, where there's been a lot of talk around the need to protect women and girls from a perceived threat of illegal immigration. But what we heard today from Muslim women is that that ignores the very real hostility and violence that they face.
Who are the victims in our stories? How do we selectively choose which victims we care about and which we don't? And what we're seeing with the far right is often how gendered the debate can be at the exclusion of some women over others. And also how all that really does is weaponise hatred even more. Violence against women hasn't stopped, it hasn't changed, but the narrative around it is incorrect. And this is why we're concerned. Is this narrative of being outside asylum hotels actually going to keep women safe? Is it going to reduce violence against women? Is it going to reduce domestic abuse cases? And unfortunately not.
Well, during today's event, guests and speakers shared their own experiences of abuse and harassment that they've experienced on the streets of Glasgow, being asked to take off their hijab or other forms of religious clothing, and even some forms of sexual violence.
I've been targeted specifically for the colour of my skin. I've been told things like, oh, your lot are all rapists, you're a prostitute, get out our country. All of these very despicable remarks which are entirely about the colour of my skin.
So, Tara, where do the campaigners say they'll go from here?
Well, talk around who feels safe in communities is one that is going to rage on. But what's clear from today's event is that Muslim women want to try and reclaim this conversation and have their own voices heard in all the noise.
Tara, thank you. Most of us take our sight for granted, but one of Scotland's leading surgeons has told STV News people are waiting 2 years for vital surgery, which would help them see properly again. A shortage of tissue for cornea transplants is a major factor behind the delay. The outer layer of the eye must be retrieved within 24 hours of a donor's death. Here's our senior reporter, Gordon Cree.
It's 10 years since Rada had both corneas, the front part of her eyes, replaced in separate operations. She told me that before that she was slowly going blind.
Even for someone like you with your medical background, was it quite a daunting thought that you were going to have surgery on your eyes?
Yes, it was very daunting because it seemed like a very drastic thing for blurred vision, but I was lucky enough to have it done in 2015, and I'm always grateful to the two families that said yes to donation, and because of them I've been an ICU doctor, I've worked through the COVID pandemic, and I lead the life that I wish to. When the first eye was done, I remember being able to drive in 6 weeks' time and noticing the colours of the leaves in Pollock Park in Glasgow where I live, and actually it was the colours that I realised that I had actually been looking at the world through a foggy windscreen for so long.
The Scottish Blood Transfusion Service transports donor eye tissue, which, like other organs, comes from people who have died, to hospitals where it's needed for surgery. The work in the labs here supports around 200 to 300 cornea transplants in Scotland every year. But what's holding them back is a lack of donors. They say often relatives are squeamish about the idea.
At the moment, my waiting list in Edinburgh is about 2 years to get a corneal transplant. I've got over 80 people waiting for corneal transplants, and there is a shortage of tissue and also resources as well to be able to have surgical time, the technology to be able to prepare the transplants appropriately, to be able to undertake the surgery successfully.
The Scottish Government has announced an extra 6 staff are being employed in the Central Belt to work with families to ensure conversations are had about permission for donation and sensitively handle the procedure after death.
When I told people that I had it done, a number of them said, oh, I would have donated my organs, but I wouldn't have said yes to donation of my corneas. And they've told me that since they've heard my story, they've gone back and ticked that box on the organ donor register that they were willing to donate their corneas as well.
Rada hopes by sharing her story more widely, she'll encourage more of us to make that same decision and give others the gift of sight. Gordon Cree, STV News, Edinburgh.
Businesses in Glasgow's south side say they're considering relocating if the council goes ahead with proposals to introduce parking permits. Under the plans, residents and businesses could pay more depending on their emissions, but locals say this could leave them out of pocket. Raheem Chan reports.
Southsiders are starting to smell the coffee. And for many local businesses, what's brewing isn't good news. Shops in Battlefield, Shawlands and Strathbungo say they are at risk of closure as Glasgow City Council proposes new parking permit zones across the area.
Our staff travel to get to work, and many of our staff can't use public transport because it doesn't suit the times of day they have to be here, or it just doesn't suit to get 2 connecting buses to get to work for a 6-hour shift. We're not open for long enough to make these daily charges on parking worthwhile for our staff. We're only open 9 to 4, so to buy a permit at over £20 a week just leaves our staff in a spot, or us trying to provide it for the staff, in a spot where it doesn't marry in.
Business parking permits are pegged at £1,050 per vehicle, meaning a company with 5 staff could be paying more than £5,000 a year just to park. Jason has run his gym for 25 years, and for the first time, he's considering relocating.
It's going to hugely affect my business, where hundreds and hundreds of members will not come to the gym. It's either going to close me down because realistically people are not going to pay that much for parking. or I'm going to have to look at relocating. We have not got the transport links. We've not got subways. We haven't got it. So how are people going to get here? Shorelands will die.
The council says parking zones in other parts of the city have already proven successful, reducing obstructions, improving traffic flow, and helping emergency vehicles reach streets more easily.
Permits will now be issued based on the level of emission a car produces. For the least emitting cars, residents will have to pay up to £80 per year. But if your car is older and emits up to 200 grams per kilometre, you could be paying up to £200 per year. Residents will pay more if more than one car is registered to an address.
And locals remain divided on the issue.
I think it would be a great idea to have the parking permits in Shorelands because it will reduce the overall flow of traffic and cars that are basically in the area, which I can't, see it being a bad thing.
It'll kill Shorelands totally. It's hard enough to park at the moment, but introduce a charge and it'll kill it.
Well, they have to raise taxes, don't they? So, yes and no.
The Shorelands consultation is open until December 8th, while Battlefield and Strathbungo survey runs until December 15th. Raheem Cham, STV News, Glasgow.
The Scottish space sector has been awarded £3.8 million from the UK Space Agency to accelerate breakthrough technologies and boost commercialisation. The announcement was made by the Scotland office at the country's largest ever space exhibition in Glasgow today. Police watchdogs have announced a review of policing arrangements at next year's Commonwealth Games. His Majesty's Inspectorate of Constabulary in Scotland will look at how prepared Police Scotland is to help deliver a safe and successful Games. The review will also look at the impact of the event on normal policing services across Scotland.
We are very keen to make sure that Police Scotland do what they need to do, that the Scottish Police Authority have got a good oversight of it, that their internal auditors are going to look at the money, which is very good because they're accountants, and that will deliver, hopefully, a nice, safe and effective Games, and that the people can come and visit Scotland and have a great time.
Plenty of football games tonight. Jamie is at Tynecastle with tonight's sport.
STV Sport, sponsored by the C.R. Smith Christmas Sale.
Good evening from Tynecastle Park on a packed night of Scottish Premiership football. Here, league leaders Hearts take on Kilmarnock and they're looking to get back to winning ways. They've dropped points in each of their last 3 games. Derek McInnes's side were held to a goalless draw away to Motherwell on Saturday that narrows their lead at the top of the table to just 2 points. McInnes is wary of his former team this evening, who wants his side to focus on rediscovering the early season form which propelled them to first place in the league.
I just want us to try and be a wee bit more of what we were in terms of being a wee bit more confident with our work, a bit more belief about our work and a bit more aggressive with our work. They've got a lot of good players at Kilmarnock. They've got a good attacking threat. They've obviously struggled to keep clean sheets of late and struggled to perform, but that can easily turn. They've got a lot of good players there, and we need to be mindful of the fact that we've got to get back to what we do, regardless of who turns up, regardless what Kilmarnock turn up. We've got to try and get back to what we want to do.
Well, Celtic are within striking distance of overtaking Hearts now. And with new manager Wilfried Nancy set to officially take over tomorrow, tonight will be Martin O'Neill's last game in charge as they host Dundee. O'Neill has presided over consecutive league wins since taking interim charge, and he's looking to hand over the reins with another 3 points this evening.
It's about trying to win the game, really, and whatever comes or goes after that. I just think, and the nice thing about the players is that they have responded. I couldn't praise them highly enough, but we've got one more game to go. For me, they've got big matches ahead, so and those games are really important to them. But no, the response has been terrific.
Well, meanwhile, Rangers are at Tannadice this evening to take on Dundee United, and Danny Rule, their manager, is also looking to get his team back to winning ways. Rangers are 9 points off the top of the league, and they're contending with an injury crisis. Rule is without no fewer than 6 of his first-team players for tonight's trip to Tayside.
I have to find the next starting 11, a good bench, and then try to create more good moments, more dangerous moments in this area. I think this is the biggest challenge now. I see a good step forward in our defense line.
Well, there are 5 games in total in the Premiership tonight. St Mirren are away to Aberdeen. Celtic host Dundee. It's Dundee United versus Rangers. Falkirk take on Motherwell. And of course here at Tynecastle, Hearts face Kilmarnock. Now, it's just 48 hours until we find out who Scotland will face at next year's World Cup. The group stage draw takes place in Washington, D.C. on Friday, and our reporter Ronnie Charters is in the capital of the United States for us to look ahead to it. He's soaking up the build-up to that draw. And Ronnie, how's it looking?
Well, Jamie, it's a pretty cold but sunny afternoon here in DC as the city prepares for what will be a huge occasion on Friday night in terms of the world of football. As you mentioned, 48 hours is all Scotland now have to wait before we find out the 3 teams, and more importantly, I suppose, for the Tartan Army, which cities we could be playing in terms of next summer. We are, of course, here at the iconic White House. You have to when you come to DC, don't you? Where Donald Trump resides, a man obviously synonymous with Scotland from his family roots all the way to the golf courses he owns. He will be playing a heavy part, you feel, in that draw on Friday. He'll be taking centre stage, but Scotland will also be taking centre stage. Head coach Steve Clark and a delegation from the SFA will also be at the draw. And when I tell you, folks, that the Americans have pulled out all the stops for this draw on Friday night, it is going to be a night to remember. The famous Kennedy Centre in Washington is already getting preparation underway for this one. And when I tell you about the entertainment, you probably won't believe it, but Andrea Bocelli, UK's own Robbie Williams, Nicole Scherzinger, and rounding off the night, the Village People doing YMCA. It is going to be a night to remember, and it's a night the Tartan Army have been waiting for a long time. On Friday night, we now get to start booking flights, booking accommodation, and it'll just feel that bit more real that we've made it back to a World Cup stage. 5 p.m. UK time is the time to look out for. That's when the draw starts in the Kennedy Centre here in Washington, and we will have all the build-up and reaction to that draw throughout the week here in Washington. 5 p.m. UK time is when Scotland return back to the World Cup stage.
Oh, I can feel the excitement building. Ronnie in Washington, thank you very much. Well, while the nation awaits that one, there was another World Cup draw made today for Scotland's rugby team ahead of the tournament that takes place in Australia in 2027. And the draw made in Sydney this morning has a familiar look for the Scots. They'll face Ireland in the pool stage for the 3rd World Cup running, as well as Uruguay and Portugal.
It's a different setup this time compared to the last 2 World Cups, and particularly the last World Cup when we also had South Africa, so we had two very leading sides in the world at the time. So now second place teams go through, some third place teams go through, but you want to get out of the pool by winning it. It's an easier road to the quarterfinals and semi-finals if you can win your pool.
That is a hurdle we need to get over, and that's just plain and simple. We can't run away from that fact as a playing group or as a coaching staff or as a nation. We have to beat Ireland at the World Cup, and they have to beat us in order to finish at the top of the pool.
You can't beat a World Cup, but hey, a Wednesday night in December packed with Scottish football action, that comes pretty close. Can Hearts stay at the top of the league, or are Celtic about to leapfrog them just as Wilfried Nancy arrives? Join us tomorrow when we'll recap all the action as well as continuing the build-up to the World Cup draw from Washington.
STV Sport, sponsored by the C.R. Smith Christmas Sale.
Now, Sean has the weather forecast. I've got to ask Sean, do we actually need it? There's nothing happening, is there?
It's so quiet just now. You know, last night Kellyanne and I filled a bit of time talking about Christmas trees, but I fear asking you if you've put your Christmas tree up.
Did I hear you say 4 Christmas trees?
More than that, actually, yeah. I take it you've not put yours up yet, no?
Better do the weather.
There's no point asking Johnny, he'll put it up in a few weeks. But yeah, the weather at the moment is just so quiet. There's just so little going on just now. Have a look at the temperatures. They're round about average. This is Edinburgh and Fort William, about 7 or 8 degrees Celsius. The only exception, though, Campbelltown. Have a look at this. Next week, we could possibly be heading for the highs of around 11 degrees. Let's look at the forecast.
An icy start to the day will give way to a series of oohs and ahs. TUI sponsors STV Weather.
Well, it's pretty much just business as usual for December. There'll be some rain, there'll be some strong winds at times, but nothing overly extreme, not overly heavy rain, not overly windy. And the temperatures, roughly about 5 to 7 degrees by day, but 2-3 by night. So around average for the time of year. So not too much happening with the weather. However, we've got two main spells of rain to come through in the next couple of days. Friday night probably we'll see a spell of heavy rain coming through, and then also plenty of rain coming through on Sunday. So it just does look quite damp at this stage for Sunday. For the time being, overnight tonight, we'll hang on to showery weather for many western parts of the country. The further east we go, we get into drier weather, and temperatures here, probably parts of South Lanarkshire, down to lows of about 3 or 4 degrees Celsius. Now, tomorrow we're going to see a weather front that's going to be stuck out just over the Hebrides. And I think it will be particularly wet tomorrow across likes of Islay and Tiree, some of the wetter conditions here, because that weather front just gets held out to the west. But it will slowly creep its way eastwards, but the wettest weather certainly across the Hebrides. Elsewhere we'll see cloud and some showers at times, maybe a wee bit of brightness breaking through during the afternoon, but cloudier skies tomorrow. There will be outbreaks of rain for many of us, and your afternoon temperatures are roughly where they've been this afternoon, about 6 to 8 degrees Celsius. Drier and brighter for a time on Friday, but we'll see gales developing in the Hebrides later on with some rain. Bye-bye.
TUI sponsors STV Weather.
And finally tonight, more than a week on since they went viral with their doorbell camera rendition of Last Christmas, 5 schoolboys from Denny have been living a showbiz life, from appearances in the likes of This Morning to praise from fans around the world. Laura Boyd has been catching up with the singing sensations to find out all about their whirlwind week.
Well, last Monday I had the pleasure of meeting Scottish singing sensations, let's call them the Denny Boys, the young boys who went viral with their rendition of Last Christmas. Fast forward a week and a half and they are so in demand. They've been on every TV show going. People are just desperate to meet them because they've been spreading so much cheer. Boys, what has this week and a half been like for you?
It's been surreal. It's been one of the best things in my life.
What has been the best thing about it?
Going to Strathcarron Hospice and singing for all the people that are in there.
And you've raised lots of money. What was it like being on the likes of This Morning?
Amazing.
Was it better than STV?
No.
Yay! You're my favourite. Right, well listen, we've got Strathcarron Hospice with us here. What did it mean to you when these boys came along?
It was amazing. I mean, and from the minute they arrived in hospice, visiting the patients and the staff, the impact that they had, bringing all that amazing energy and sharing all the love that they had was unbelievable. But I think the biggest impact is our social media. We had over 1 million hits, which actually nearly broke our social media. And then thereafter that is the fact that the boys have chosen us as their charity, means that there has been some money that has followed, which is amazing from our point of view.
They're doing brilliant things. George Bowie, they love you, big fans of the GBX, but you're a big fan of theirs.
Yes, they're amazing. We were watching them on the show on TikTok, we're talking about it, and I thought I'd come down and say hello to the guys, get to meet them, and I know they listen to the GBX, I know the mums listen to the GBX, Diane's still bouncing about out there.
The mums are behind us out there and they love you, George, but you've got something to say to the boys.
So I thought we'd invite you all down, you could all come on the show one night, we'll just get you and your mums and your siblings and you can all come right, see that stuff. So we'll invite you down to the studio and you can all come in one night when we're doing the show, alright? Fancy that. Right,
how exciting is that? But I think it's only right that you sing us out, but you're going to do a different song for us, so are you ready to take it away?
Yeah.
Let's go for it.
First day of Christmas, my true love sent to me a partridge in a pear tree. On the second day of Christmas, my true love sent to me 2 turtle doves and a partridge in a pear tree. Bye, John McKay, love you.
Well, that's lovely to know. From all of us here, thanks for watching. Have a good night.